download the Facebook Messenger app so I can use my computer?
Let's try that.
What I have to do?
Next time, let's try that. I'm on my computer.
Okay. I thought when I clicked on the link on my computer and got you, that automatically loaded the app, but I guess not. All right.
Okay. All right. I thought it would happen that way too. Sorry, Michael.
No. We're all in training for life.
Well said, sir. Well said. Okay, so welcome everybody to the core team call. For those of you that are participating or that will soon be participating via the Copiosis social group, what I'd like to do, so we have Christopher, Simone, Gheric, and Michael all on the call this morning. What I'd like to do, if you guys are okay, is kind of step outside of the ordinary agenda and present some data for us all to look at relative to the last 30 days of activity, just so that we can all be on the same page, especially the people who might watch this later, because I think there is, actually I don't think, I know there are perceptions among the social group members, the action group members, and maybe even the Q&A group that certain approaches are not being effective, especially our approaches, our outreach on Facebook. So I want to provide some data that counters that and hopefully give some encouragement to people that the way that we're running the organization with regard to outreach is actually working. So I'm going to share my screen if there's no objection. No objections to me doing this? Okay, thanks. I'm going to share my screen and then pull up that data. Just 1 second here. Let's see if I can. Let's see if this shows. Where is it? Can you guys see that? See the, it's a Twitter, the Twitter page is open. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Can you now see the Google Analytics?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this is the Twitter analytics page for the copiosis.com account. And as you can see at the top here, that our numbers for the last 28, can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you can see, for the last 28 days, we've had increases across the board in all the metrics.
Wow.
Of course, we have a lot of tweets because we do pretty much a tweet every day, which is the blog post. The impressions I don't pay much attention to, but the profile visits I pay attention to. The mentions and the follower increases I pay attention to. So as you can see, we're trending in the right direction on all of those metrics. And then as I scroll down, Twitter gives us the monthly breakdown. So if you look over here to the right, you can see that in November, for example, we had 708 profile visits and 8 new followers for November off of 17 tweets. And then in October, we had 295 profile visits, 7 new followers off of 52 tweets. And if we keep going back to September, we had over 300 profile visits, 6 new followers, and over 40 on over 40 tweets. So the Twitter activity, and this is being driven predominantly by Simone and the Action Group. Simone and the Action Group on Twitter, with Simone and TC managing the website post publication process, and that's being driven by Simone. It's not being driven by me. The next tab I want to show you is the Google Analytics page. You guys can see this?
No.
No, it went away.
It went away? Okay, just
Mhm.
I'll just share it again.
Does anybody have the numbers? How big is our social group? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
Simone does.
Our social group's probably about 900 60 or 80 or something like that. I mean, I can check real quick.
And not all of those are probably active. Maybe some people joined and forgot or something.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Can you guys see the analytics page now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you can see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So this right here, Democracy is Dumb, that is a blog post that we ran many years ago and then ran it again earlier this year. This is the list of the pages that people are currently visiting for the current period of this page, which I think is the last 7 days right now. The reason why I'm showing this right here, the 68 page views to that blog post, is because we are currently, thanks to Simone and her finding a 1-minute video on Facebook and telling us that that video seemed like a great place to post information about Copiosis, we are getting these visits directly from Facebook to that blog post because I responded to Simone's suggestion to post there and posted a link to that blog post in the comment section of that video. That video, posting that blog post in the comment section, generated a fairly large amount of conversation, engagement, and as you can see, traffic. In the last 7 days, this, I think, Simone, you mentioned this post or this video the day before yesterday?
I think it was yesterday. I don't know. Was it yesterday? I get confused on these.
Okay,
but I think
okay.
it was yesterday when all this
Okay.
went on.
I think you're right.
I actually had texted you about it, I think, and you went on to it, and then you made some comments, and then I put it in the action group, asking other people to go in. I don't know of anybody else, but last I looked, it had 41 comments on your post, on one of your posts in there, or one of your comments in there. Yeah.
Right. So
impressive.
Well, yeah, and it's so what's impressive is not that Perry went and did this. What's impressive is how Facebook is working. So some people have said that Facebook is dead in terms of promoting Copiosis. But as you can see, as a result of us engaging, somebody needs to go on mute. Can someone? Thank you. As you can see, in just 1 day on Facebook, the activity on Facebook became the #2 source of traffic to the website. So Facebook is working. It's working really well. Now, I also want to show you here on the, what do I want to show you? This is the Google Analytics. So you can see for social media is generating 80%. You guys can see this, right? Social media is generating 80% of our total traffic to our website. And if I click on this, it shows that Facebook right now is the #1 source of our traffic to our website, followed by Twitter. YouTube is #3, and that makes sense because we haven't put a whole lot of effort yet into YouTube. So what I see happening is the action group on Facebook and Twitter is generating all of our traffic right now. And so we cannot presume just because someone doesn't respond to our individual posts on Facebook that people aren't seeing those posts and then going to the website. We're actually getting really good results from our social media efforts. So now real quickly, I just want to show, this is our WordPress stats, and it shows as far as the referrals, where's our traffic coming from? For the last 30 days, the #1 source of our traffic is Facebook. So what WordPress here is looking at is when we post our blog posts and people respond and come to our posts, where are they coming from? They're coming from Facebook. And then the #2 place they're coming from is from Twitter. So I just wanted to show this information because I thought it would counter some of the claims and concerns that people are having about, how do I get back to the room? About Facebook being effective, about whether or not, I'm trying to get back to you guys. I'll be, as soon as I figure out what's going on, I'll get back to you. There it is. About Facebook having problems, not producing the results that we're looking for, about our Twitter strategy not working, about whether or not we need to be posting our posts less or more. The fact is, and whether or not Perry is in charge of it all. The fact is, our organization is stagmergically organized, which means everyone is doing what they're passionate about doing and inspired about doing. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you feel like doing it, do it. But the people who are doing it are the people who are running it. And because they're doing it, they have the most awareness and knowledge about what they're doing. And so that's why they're in charge of doing it, because they've been doing it. That's just how it works. So I just wanted to share that for the people that are watching. Hopefully the three of you that are watching are more encouraged about what we're doing and understand that it's a lot less about Perry's dictatorial approach, which is not a dictatorial approach, and more about the very successful stagmergic approach that we're using to run this organization. It's working, you guys. And just before we got onto the broadcast, we talked about something that's happening behind the scenes that I'm not comfortable putting on a recording, and that's proving also that this is working. There are so many things that are working. So I'll leave it at that. If anyone has any questions about it, it looks like TC commented. He said, "Thank you, Perry. Who would have thought it?" Yeah. So, like, and Shannon just wrote and said she's never been discouraged. Thank you, Shannon. So, as Gheric had mentioned to that woman who was talking about vaccinations in the social group, what you put your attention on is what you're going to see. So if you're pessimistic and you're looking and you're thinking that things aren't happening, that's what you're going to see. You have to be positively oriented, and if you are, you will see that there's a lot of good things happening with Copiosis. There's just no disputing it. All right, so let's get to the regular agenda, unless anyone on the core team wants to say anything at this point.
I just wanted to say something. That's just with a few of us doing that on Twitter and Facebook, because a lot of people, we don't have that many shares of our daily posts. We don't have that many people going on to sharing about Copiosis that I'm seeing anyways from our action group. I mean, there are a handful of us, don't get me wrong, but it's not that many. So we're getting pretty darn good results. And I want to say also, like you were saying, Perry, we're doing it because we're passionate about it and we believe in it and we think we're going to get results. And when I put that post on Facebook to the Prime Minister of New Zealand's post, something about Copiosis, I think I had like a few people from our group like it, but I had like about 6 other people from around the world like what I was saying about Copiosis too. So I'm sure they probably clicked on from there to go to our Facebook page to learn more about Copiosis. So I'm very encouraged by everything, and I'm really appreciative to all those in our action group and in our social group, everybody who's helping spread the word on social media about Copiosis. And some in our action group are also spreading the word about Copiosis in their other groups. So Karen Wilkes has been doing that I'm aware of. So good job to everybody. Yay, we're doing great. Keep it up.
We are doing great. And you're right, Simone, that a few people are active and we're getting really good results from those few people. So yeah. All right, Thomas. TC just wrote and said he's very encouraged. I'm very glad that you are very encouraged, TC. All right, so let's do our regular agenda. And the regular agenda, as you know, you guys, we've swapped it so that the open discussion happens first. This was a good kickoff. So we've got listed the communication strategy, the relationship opportunities, communication and messaging, and then protocol strategy or political strategy. So, Michael, I don't know if you have anything, and I'm not expecting you to, but I don't know if you have anything you want to talk about with regard to communication and messaging or communication strategy.
Can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't think I should slow down the group with my ignorance right now. There's a lot I need to catch up on, and evidently, so not at the moment.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So then I'm going to jump in and continue talking about what's been going on from my perspective, because a lot has been happening, some of it interesting. And so I'll just jump into it. So Gheric and I were introduced to a couple of organizations, one being, actually 3 organizations, one being Liquid Intelligence, the other being the Holochain group, and then the third one was the World Future Society. So far, we've been connected with 2 of those organizations. Is that right? Oh no, all 3. We've been connected with all 3 of the organizations. We have not heard back yet from Liquid Intelligence, but I think that's probably the most likely positive response we're going to get, because the guy who introduced us, Jared, is involved in that organization. And of course, just to remind everybody, they're the organizations that's developing the Internet of Intelligence and has an AI engine that seems really pretty perfectly aligned with what Copiosis is doing. And the expectation, at least my expectation, was that in some way Gheric would get plugged into that organization. We have not heard any word yet from Jared about what Dr. Brock has decided about that, so we're still waiting. And I should probably reach out. Or Gheric, actually, would you be willing to reach out to Jared? Okay, thank you. Okay, excellent. The other 2 organizations so far aren't very encouraging. So Julie from the World Future Society reached out and asked whether or not we, Copiosis, was vetted by some independent economist. You guys may have seen that. Some of you may have seen that email. I responded to that email and have not heard back from her. Now, since not hearing back from her, I went ahead and sent her another email, just personally, direct to her, not through Jared, asking her some questions about why she was vetting, why she was including in her vetting criteria the opinions of economists about Copiosis, with the expectation that I'd be able to enter into a conversation about that with her. I have not heard back from her. So that's where we are on the World Future Society. With regard to Holochain Group, as you, Christopher, and Gheric know, you helped me put together that response. I have not heard back from, I can't remember that guy's name. The guy's name's right on the tip of my brain. Moritz. I have not heard back. Yes, thanks, Christopher. I have not heard back from Moritz yet. So I'm going to reach out today and find out where he's at. He probably got overwhelmed with the wordiness of that email, but I don't know how else I could have answered his questions without a whole bunch of words. So hopefully he had a chance to at least look at it, and we'll rekindle that conversation. So that's where we are on those 3 organizations. So I'll reach back out to the Holochain Group. Gheric, thank you for being willing to reach out to Jared, and we'll see how that goes. And then the last thing I have, I think, with regard to results we've produced is the second installment of that 3-hour-long podcast interview that I did with All Real. The second one was supposed to drop today, but he had car trouble, so it won't be dropping until next week. I don't know if you guys heard that first one, the first hour. It was pretty good, but the second one's really good. So look forward to that. So that's with regard to relationship opportunities. Communication and strategy, we pretty much talked about with regard to the results that we're showing and the great work that Simone and TC and the Action Group is doing. Anything on the political strategy, Christopher? Anything at all?
Yeah, I just quick comment, and then I'll try to parlay that into the strategy. But I think what we're seeing right now in the United States is it's profound, but I think it's a reflection of the capability of humanity to move above a norm. And I mean that specifically in regards to the early vote / absentee voter ballot initiatives. And don't get me wrong, I know that many Secretary of State sent out requests for ballots to the entire voting populace. But now we have tens of millions of people who have that experience under their belt. So
good point.
and some of them who haven't voted before. So I think that, next, even in the midterm, the request probably won't be there, considering what happens with COVID in the next 2 years, but they're gonna be like, why didn't I get my thing in the mail? And then that's gonna, so I think a good percentage of those people are gonna go and initiate the request for a ballot on their own, because of the results that are still trickling in. But it's it's interesting because federal, state, and local are completely different. Like here in Michigan, the state legislature leaned to the right again. So it's but then obviously at the federal level, Detroit and some of the suburbs definitely switched to the left. So that has a lot of bearing in what we do as a state in the future. But what I'm getting at is that I think I truly think that the federal brand of democracy is easily more easily manipulated than state and local. And to that hypothesis, this is a hypothesis, not a statement. I think that in the future, part of my argument is that power is going to go back to the local level. And I think that this election is a good example of that, because we're seeing that man, I had a good sorry, it slipped my tongue, but I think that this is the beginning of a change. That's what I was going to parlay it into. And the change being voting a different way. So I've always said that I believe that there's going to be this digital option. And I believe what happened this time around, especially with the lawsuits and, there's not a Republican and a Democrat looking at every single vote that's counted type argument. I think that there's going to be some type of digital blockchain-ish type system created to where we'll still have going to the polls to vote. We'll still have absentee voter and early voting. But then we'll have this digital option, and it depends on the state, but I think it'll be, you can change your mind right up until the date, right up until the expiration date at your state. So anyway, I'm getting off into the weeds.
So your perspective, Christopher, just to put it in context for others on the call, I consider your perspective highly valuable because it's giving us information about the political landscape that we otherwise wouldn't have, and your prospective look at it is encouraging, because what I think, as Gheric has been saying for quite some time, that local almost grassroots development of Copiosis might obviate the need for a political strategy. And what I think is happening is we're seeing what Gheric is saying, where we have kind of like an organic implementation of Copiosis rising from the bottom. What you're saying is we have politics being pushed down to the bottom too. And so when the two meet, it just feels like it's going to be an easy transition. And so to have your feedback that you're giving is just so valuable because it encourages that, I think.
Right, and I don't think it's going to be a linear thing. I think this is going to be an exponential thing. So I think this decade we're going to see some major changes in the democratic process,
Right.
brought on specifically by COVID and this election, into a more more accurate process. But what are the costs of that? I think that one of the biggest costs is the two-party system loses a lot of its viability if we're saying that anybody can vote, digitally at any point in time. It's like there's a lot more of them than there are of us. So, and I'm a conservative, but besides that, it's like what would third-party politics look like? And how would that affect power and influence and lobbying and such? And I'm largely talking to the people that are younger, because people that are older are convinced that it's going to stay a certain way, or there's not enough. But I'd say that, like, the ability to influence the young is quite profound, and millennials are the biggest sector in America now. So it's like, where does the future go? And I think if younger people have the ability to vote digitally, and it's not this on this spectrum per se, more of like a cultural view with third parties, I think it would be just a profound difference. But as long as the two-party system is solidified, any third party that actually gets onto the ballot is just a percentage of. So I don't know. This is all conjecture, but it's just like possibilities are changing quickly, and a lot of my colleagues think that it's just going to go back to the way it was, next time around, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's accurate, because not only because of the level of absentee voter ballot, but the response to it. Because we knew that if 100 million people voted before election day, you knew it was going to take a long time.
Yeah.
But you knew that you're going to nitpick every single vote and accusation. So we know that people vote nefariously in every state, every time. It's just the level of how much, and it matters if the races are close. But this time it's going to be specifically highlighted and spotlighted because of what's at stake. But I think that's going to it's going to spotlight too many holes in the current process, and it's going to say people demand change. And I think that this decade we're going to see a digital option by the end of the 10-year period.
So do we Christopher, so the woman, I think I said her name was Jennifer, the one who wants to Jennifer, who wants to reach out to young people. I wonder if we should encourage her to, when she says young people, she might be talking about children, but I wonder if reaching out to millennials, like a more narrow band of young people, makes sense, so that their education coincides with what you're talking about at the political level. What do you think? Should we guide her?
I totally agree, because millennials tend to think that there's still a heavy dependence on government to make some of these things happen, being, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And we're trying to say, no, we're lifting that dependence on the government. We're lifting that dependence from, goods and services from businesses. We're lifting all these dependents. Where we're arguing about a government budget or centralized government with functional and structural issues. And then, if we solve those issues, which I believe exponential technologies can help with that, then it's just a social issue place, and that's the way it should be. Not by any centralized entity or decision making metropolis, but it's like you know, that's my point of view on it. And I think COVID-19 has accelerated every single thing that I've talked about this year, including disruption of government.
Christopher, one last comment. One last question I have for you is regarding politics. Someone told me not long ago that there's a myth that young people are coming into the world eager for change on the scale that we're talking about. And he said the reason why that's a myth is because there are just as many conservative millennials and younger as there are today in the older generation. What do you see from a political perspective is the demographic makeup, politics-wise, of millennials and younger? Do you know at all? Do you have any access to that information?
I mean, yeah, we definitely have access to the statistics, but I would say in general that on a conservative type lens, you know, in the rural areas, you can cover a whole you know, patch of districts with just a handful of young conservative helpers. So, but in the more populated areas, there's definitely quite a few more conservatives. But they're, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, you walk into a school and it says Democrats only over the, and that's just that's definitely subjective.
Okay.
It feels that way. Like when I worked at a liberal university, and it felt
okay.
Yeah. But I've heard the same thing at high schools and such. But it's like my argument here is they definitely are eager to make change, but we've told them that they have to do it through the traditional process.
Gotcha.
And that key difference is what's going to change this decade. So they're going to participate in disruption from the outside, not from going through the regular, you know, way that we've all done it in our entire lives.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, Simone. Yeah,
So,
hang on just 1 second, Simone. I want to queue up Michael, because Michael, after Simone, I want to ask if you have anything to add relative to communication with regard to what Christopher just said. Okay, Simone.
I'm sorry. So what's interesting to me right now, what's fun actually, guess what today's post is? Millennials will save the boomer, what boomers have not. Right?
Wow.
So you guys are talking about that and I go, yeah, I know that's what our blog post is about today. So kind of fun. I just wanted to share that tidbit with you guys.
I didn't even know that. That's
no,
awesome.
You did not know that. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Because I kind of run, TC and I run that kind of like the daily blog. So yeah, really interesting, huh?
That is interesting for sure.
And fun.
Yeah.
The synchronicity of it all, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So Michael, you don't have to have any comment, but I was just wondering if you wanted to jump in on what Christopher was saying relative to politics as it relates to communication or messaging.
We agree, for better or for worse, that government is going to break down more to a local level. I agree 1,000%, and that's just the wave of society. I mean, things get too big and they break down. Central government is ineffective. They don't. You have people that are too much ivory tower and not in touch, and people get tired of it. So that can be a real plus. It can be a real minus depending on which end of the stick you're on. But let's look at on the positive side that it's a real plus that people can start making more of their own individual decisions, what's good for their local group, their small group. And after all, isn't that a base for us to take off with the right folks and the right mindset?
That's what I think. It's like if it, I should say, when it does go down to the state level, now you have different states with different general opinions, some of which would be very open to something like Copiosis potentially if we reach the right people. And it's much easier to do that than to try to get at the federal level change. So yeah, and so yeah, it just makes even more possible a municipal-wide demonstration project. Not necessarily a statewide one, but definitely a municipal-wide one at some point.
That's what I think.
So we got a
I've
couple.
been wrong many times before.
Me
As
too. Yeah.
as have we all. So we got a couple of questions. One is, could it mean, this is relative to the two-party politics statement you made, Christopher. Could it mean the end of party politics altogether?
So I would say no, because we are a heterogeneous population, not only with culture, but with the way we think. So I'd say that's more likely in other countries, which is definitely possible. But we don't necessarily want a governing dynamic that is singular. That is bad news in my opinion.
Okay,
I mean, it has to be bottom up, not top down.
roger that. And then the other question was, and this is more general, I suppose, how do we deal with fake news and disinformation campaigns? I'm wondering if he's referring to politics in general. This is KJ. So KJ, are you referring to politics in general, or are you referring to fake news and disinformation campaigns that might be waged against what we're doing?
So I know that Gheric definitely has an input on this. I would assume, but I think it's a combination of a few things, and I'll just be quick with this. First is the development of AI that can produce good fakes, but then at the same time you're developing an AI that can recognize those fakes. So, there's that piece. There's this citizen journalism piece also. Yeah. That's being brought to us through open source networking. But then in general, it's up to the individual to listen to something that's being told to them from a centralized entity that has a board of directors and that's publicly owned or not, versus going out and searching out information on your own. So in my experience, which is, I'm young, so I know you guys have different points of view, but it's like, I listened to what the networks would tell me, and then I would start to think negatively about other people more. So it's like, do I really want that to happen? And it's like, I think there's a lot of good going on in the world that's not mentioned in any network. So then I started searching for these things, and I'm like, whoa, there's really a lot of good happening in the world. And, why don't we know about it? It's because, of the advertising piece of network television. So you gotta get people to listen, and people listen more to negative news. So that's just a fact. But AI, I think, is going to help us a lot with that.
Yeah. Gheric, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much with what Chris is saying.
Okay. Yeah, there's a Latif Nasser who works with some podcasts, has a show on Netflix called Connections. And in there, one of the episodes, he talks about deep fakes and fake photographs and fake videos. And there's a guy at a university who is figuring out how to distinguish an original video from a fake video. So it's interesting because as the potential of fakes like that rise, there, it seems right alongside that are people who are rising also to figure out how to defeat those things.
And I think part of the solution here is, we've talked about this before, but it's the ubiquity of recording devices, personal recording devices. And, it's like for your own, just to have your own record of events, it'll come to the point, I think, where we already have cameras in our pockets. We can pull out at any moment to start recording anything that we see that we think might be recorded, right? This is one think why police brutality has become such an issue. It's not that it wasn't before, it's that now there's evidence of it. And so I think with the rise in fake images or whatnot, it'll become more useful to have your own record of events. And then those can be cross-matched, against each other to arrive at some what actually happens in any given But somebody, it's still convincing people about what's real and what isn't definitely going to be challenging.
Yeah, KJ clarified his question. He was talking about how do we deal with fake news and disinformation campaigns waged against Copiosis as we become more prominent.
That's tricky.
It is tricky.
So that's, that goes into this entire political strategy, is that the more points of view that we can get to agree with what we're doing, the harder it is for any one of them to be dissuaded by a particular point.
That's a really good point. And this is why I so appreciate Michael being involved, is because he's helping us de-progressify our message to not only make it more palatable to all people, but also to shorten the path that it takes for a person to first hear about Copiosis to the point where they're interested enough to engage in some way. So really, thank you, Michael, for being on board, for helping with that.
I mean, I think part just comes from showing that it works. Once people see that it doesn't really, you can either want it or not, but it doesn't matter at that point what people say once they see it working. And I think, there are some things that we can point to. Something I've been thinking about is, have you guys ever used StackOverflow?
I have not.
Nobody. Okay. It's sort of like a question answer website, mainly used by programmers, but they do have like branches of the website for other topics. But the cool thing about StackOverflow is it's entirely kind of driven and operated by the community, and the way that they incentivize people to answer questions or to edit answers, things like that, is by giving points. And so those points, obviously, they come out of nowhere, just like NPR, and they're rewarded when somebody comes up with an answer that's a good answer. If an answer is rated highly, they get more for every time that someone rates that answer higher. And as you get more points in the network, you gain access to more privileges in the community. So you're able to edit other people, or edit their question, or to block people from adding more answers to a question if that answer is attracting a lot of spammy answers or things like that. And so the main difference between Copiosis and that is that with StackOverflow, the awards for these different actions are sent to the plan, right? So somebody in the StackOverflow company is deciding we should award 1 point for this and 1 point for that. And what we're trying to do with Copiosis is to have a decentralized version of that. But it works, right? StackOverflow is proof that it works.
Yeah, so your point is well taken. It's like the disinformation or fake news reports could not prevail against just actual proof that the Copiosis system is working in someone's lives or some number of people's lives. And eventually, as it spreads, the disinformation can't prevail, presumably.
Yeah.
I mean, the good news is if we gotten to the point where pundits are creating disinformation campaigns against Copiosis, we are in a really good place. That's a really good indicator.
Yes.
Okay. We've got 9 minutes left. There's no more comments. Anything else we want to talk about, or anything else we need to share? Good. Okay. Simone, you good?
I just wanted to say, if anybody watching this, because I see the people that are commenting here are in our action group already, so I want to invite anybody in our social group that would like to come into our action group. Right now we're focusing mainly on our social media outreach and also recruiting people from our social group into our action group. So yeah, we welcome you if you'd like to join us.
Thank you, Simone. Can you guys on the call see the comments?
No.
No.
Oh, How come? How can you, Simone? Are you on the
I'm on
laptop?
my laptop.
Oh, that's why. That's why.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, then in that case, if we have nothing else on the agenda, I will yield. Let's yield back our 8 minutes of free time back to ourselves. Thank you all. See you next Friday, if not before. Bye.